Unexpected arrival. The stars rippled like disturbed water as the massive human warship Defiant tore through the fabric of space, emerging from the hyperspace tunnel into the busy trade lanes of the Proxima cluster. The ship's sudden appearance sent immediate waves of panic through local traffic. Smaller vessels scattered like startled fish, their engines flaring bright against the starlit backdrop. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the center of her command bridge, her dark eyes scanning the main view screen as she watched the chaos unfold. She couldn't help but smile slightly. The alien reaction was exactly what Earth Command had predicted. After all, humanity wasn't supposed to have ships this advanced. Not yet. Captain, we're receiving emergency broadcasts from 17 different vessels, reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson from his communication station. Most are demanding identification. The rest are. He paused, listening to his earpiece, strongly suggesting we depart immediately. Reyes nodded, her short black hair reflecting the blue glow of the tactical displays surrounding her. Let them wait a bit longer. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. The Defiant's bridge crew worked efficiently at their stations, each aware of their role in this historic moment. Humanity had finally arrived at the prestigious heart of galactic civilization, and they had done so in style. Through the view screen, Reyes could see the gleaming spires of the Proxima cluster's famous space stations, massive structures that housed millions of beings from hundreds of species. Those same stations were now frantically raising their shields, defense systems activating in patterns of flowing light. Multiple vessels approaching, Captain, announced Chief Tactical Officer Ortiz. I count 23 ships of various configurations. They're maintaining weapons cold, but their formation is definitely defensive. Reyes picked up her command tablet, checking the chronometer. Earth Command had calculated this too. In exactly 38 seconds, the local authorities would realize their standard scans couldn't penetrate the Defiant's hull, technology humans supposedly didn't possess. Right on schedule, noob alarms began blaring across local space. The alien vessels adjusted their positions, forming a loose sphere around the human warship. Their confusion was almost palpable. Nothing in their databases could explain how a primitive human vessel could block their scans. Captain, we're getting a direct communication request from the Galactic Council, Jackson called out. Priority channel. Put it on screen, Reyes ordered, straightening her midnight blue uniform with its silver Earth insignia. The view screen shifted to show a tall, luminescent being. The Allurian ambassador's translucent body pulsed with waves of red light, a clear sign of agitation among its kind. Behind it stood representatives of other major species, all trying to maintain composure despite their obvious concern. Unknown human vessel, the Allurian's translator hummed, its voice carrying artificial calm. You have entered restricted space with an unregistered warship of impossible specifications. Explain yourself immediately or face consequences. Reyes stepped forward, her boots clicking against the polished deck. She had rehearsed this moment hundreds of times. But the real thing felt different. Better. This is Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth vessel Defiant. We're here on a peaceful mission, though our ship's capabilities should make it clear we can defend ourselves if needed. The Allurian's body flashed with patterns of blue and yellow. Confusion and disbelief. Impossible. Human technology is at least a century away from achieving this level of advancement. Your species barely mastered fusion drives 5 years ago. That's what we wanted you to think, Reyes replied calmly. While the Galactic Council was busy dismissing us as primitives, humanity was busy working. Now, I have diplomatic authorization codes from your own government, transmitted through proper channels. I suggest you verify them. The bridge fell silent as the alien representatives huddled together, checking their data screens. Reyes could see the moment they found the codes. Their postures changed from aggressive to uncertain. Humanity had played by their rules, filed all the proper paperwork, and still managed to completely upend their assumptions. The codes are valid, the Allurian admitted, its voice carrying a new tone of reluctant respect. But this changes everything. The power balance has already changed. Rice finished for it. Now shall we discuss why Earth really sent us here? Because I assure you, making a dramatic entrance was only a small part of our mission. The alien representatives looked at each other nervously. In less than an hour, humanity had shattered centuries of galactic politics, and Captain Elena Reyes knew this was only the beginning. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy as hundreds of alien representatives rushed to their seats. The emergency meeting had been called just hours after the Defiant's arrival, and Earth's diplomat, Dr. Maya Chen, found herself at the center of attention. Chen sat alone at the human delegation's simple metal desk, surrounded by the elaborate floating platforms and energy fields of the other species. She wore a tailored gray suit that stood out among the colorful robes and bio-enhanced clothing of the alien representatives. Just yesterday, they had barely acknowledged her presence. Now, every eye, sensor, and scanning organ in the room was fixed on her position. The Council demands an explanation. The Illurian High Counselor's translucent form rippled with agitation as he addressed the assembly. How did humans hide such advanced technology from our inspectors for so long? Chen stood slowly, adjusting her glasses. She had waited months for this moment. Hide? We didn't hide anything. Your inspectors saw exactly what we wanted them to see. The room erupted in shocked whispers and electromagnetic pulses of disapproval. A representative of the crystalline Zelith floated forward, their faceted body refracting light across the chamber. But we monitored your research facilities, your production centers, your education networks. You monitored what we showed you. Chen corrected them. Did it never strike any of you as strange that humans were so obvious about their development that we practically announced every small breakthrough? The council chamber grew quiet as the implication sank in. Chen walked to the center of the room, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Above them, the artificial sky of the chamber swirled with uneasy colors. While you watched our public facilities, our real work continued in places you never thought to look. Underground bunkers from our old wars, research stations in deep-sea trenches, hidden facilities in asteroid belts you dismissed as worthless. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humans learned long ago that being underestimated is a powerful advantage. A small avian delegate raised a feathered wing. But the resources needed, the energy requirements. Chen smiled. Did you think we were wasting resources with our seemingly failed experiments? Those were cover stories. Every public failure masked a private success. The Defiant isn't just a warship. It's proof that humanity has mastered technologies you thought impossible. The chamber's AI projected images of the Defiant above the gathering. The ship's dark hull seemed to absorb light in ways that defied normal physics. Several technical experts among the delegates were already arguing about its capabilities. We demand access to this technology, the Illurian High Counselor stated. Under Council law, all major technological advances must be shared for the good of all species. That law only applies to member species, Chen pointed out. Until today, you refused to grant humanity full membership. You called us too primitive to participate in galactic politics. Would you like to revise that assessment? Before anyone could respond, Chen's communication device chimed. She read the message, and her smile widened. It seems several of your outer colonies are already requesting human protection treaties. They believe our ships could help with their pirate problems. The council erupted again, this time in genuine panic. The smaller nations had already started making deals with Earth. The balance of power was shifting by the minute. This is unprecedented. The Illurian's body flashed with patterns of stress. You can't simply arrive with advanced technology and demand. We're not demanding anything, Chen interrupted. We're offering opportunities, protection, trade, cultural exchange, all the things you denied us because you thought we were primitive. The choice to accept or refuse is yours. As if on cue, the chamber screens lit up with new arrival notifications. 3 more human ships had just appeared in different parts of the cluster. They weren't as large as the Defiant, but their presence sent a clear message. Humanity was here to stay. Chen returned to her seat, hiding her satisfaction as the council dissolved into chaos around her. Representatives of smaller nations were already making their way toward her desk, eager to establish connections with Earth. The giants of galactic politics were about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating humans. In her ear, a secure channel clicked open. Captain Rice's voice came through clearly. "How are they taking it, Maya?" "Just like we expected," Chen whispered back. "They're scared, angry, and desperate to negotiate. Should I tell them about the fleet we're building?" Chen's reply was cut short as emergency alarms cut through the council chamber like lightning through clouds. Every screen in the vast room suddenly flashed red, displaying the same urgent warning. Massive energy Saigen HUREs APPRO ACHing from the outer rim. The political arguments died instantly as fear filled the chamber. "Nexus Horde," whispered one of the alien delegates, their voice trembling. "The pirate fleet has returned." On the Defiance Bridge, Captain Rice stood watching the tactical display with calm interest. The approaching pirate fleet was larger than anything in their records, nearly 70 ships of various sizes, all heavily armed and modified for combat. In the past, such a force would have sent the entire cluster into hiding. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Jackson called out, "we're getting desperate messages from the Council. They're ordering all ships to pull back to defensive positions. They want us to retreat with them." Ray stepped closer to the main screen, studying the pirates' formation. "Send word to our other ships to maintain their positions, and get me a direct line to the Council." The screen flickered to life, showing the panicked faces of various alien representatives. The Illurian High Counselor's body was pulsing with rapid patterns of fear. "Human vessel." The Illurian's translator hummed urgently. "You must withdraw immediately. You don't understand. This is the Nexus Horde. They've raided this cluster for decades. No single ship can stand against them." Reyes allowed herself a small smile. "We know exactly who they are. In fact, they're the real reason we came to this sector." Silence fell over the communication channel as the aliens tried to process her words. In the background, Rice could hear her crew preparing the ship's weapon systems, not the basic ones the aliens knew about, but the real ones. "Tactical analysis complete, Captain," announced Ortiz from her station. "Nexus Horde approaching in standard raid formation. They're not even trying to hide their energy signatures. They have no idea what we can do." Rice nodded, then addressed the Council again. "For too long, you've let these pirates terrorize the outer colonies. You've paid them off, given them territory, tried to negotiate. Today that ends. We're going to show you why humanity developed these ships in the first place." "This is madness." The Illurian flashed with patterns of disbelief. "Your ship is powerful, yes, but it's still just one vessel against 70. Is it?" Rice pressed a button on her command console, and the tactical display updated. Hidden energy signatures suddenly appeared all around the cluster, dozens of smaller human ships that had been watching, waiting, completely invisible to both Council and pirate sensors. "While you were all focused on the Defiant," Rice explained, "our real fleet was moving into position. The pirates are already surrounded. They just don't know it yet." The Council representatives watched in stunned silence as more human ships decloaked. They weren't as large as the Defiant, but each one carried enough firepower to challenge multiple pirate vessels. And as the Nexus Horde approached, blissfully unaware of the trap they were sailing into, Captain Alina Reyes gave the order that would forever change humanity's place in the galaxy. "All ships, weapons hot. Let's show them what humans are really capable of." Proving ground. The Nexus Horde fleet approached the Proxima cluster with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. Their mismatched vessels, cobbled together from stolen technology and salvaged wrecks, moved in a chaotic yet somehow coordinated swarm. At their center, The massive command ship Ravager pulsed with stolen energy, its hull covered in the stripped armor of conquered vessels. Aboard the Ravager, Warlord Kraz stood on his command deck, his 4 arms crossed over his armored chest. The Drachnid pirate leader's scared face twisted into what passed for a smile among his kind as he watched the Proxima Cluster's defensive ships scramble to form a protective line. "Pathetic," he growled, his translator rendering his guttural language into the Galactic standard. "They never learn. Prepare boarding parties and set weapons to disable. I want their cargo holds intact." His first officer, a nimble Vextil with reflective skin, approached cautiously. "Warlord, our sensors have detected an unknown vessel at the center of the cluster. It appears to be human." Kraz yellow eyes narrowed. "Human? Those primitives barely have space travel. Check your sensors again." "The readings are confirmed, Warlord. It's definitely human design, but larger and more advanced than any human ship on record." The pirate leader dismissed the concern with a wave of his lower arms. "One ship means nothing. The council races will sacrifice it first while they retreat to safety." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target the human vessel. Show them what happens to newcomers who wander into our hunting grounds." On the bridge of the Defiant, Captain Rice watched as the pirate fleet adjusted course directly toward her ship. "They took the bait," she said, satisfaction evident in her voice. "Tactical assessment." Chief Tactical Officer Ortiz's fingers danced across her console. "Pirates are maintaining their approach vector. Their weapons are powering up, primarily focused on us. The Council Defense Fleet is attempting to form a barrier, but they're disorganized. The pirates will break through their line in minutes." Reyes nodded, then opened a channel to all human vessels. "This is Captain Reyes. The Nexus Horde has committed to their attack run. All ships, execute Operation Checkmate. Remember your training. These pirates have terrorized this sector for decades. They're experienced and dangerous, but they've never faced humans before." She closed the channel and turned to her helmsman. "Lieutenant Park, take us directly toward the pirate flagship. Full impulse." The bridge crew exchanged surprised glances, but no one questioned the order. The Defiant surged forward, accelerating toward the heart of the pirate fleet. In the council chamber, the assembled representatives watched in horror as the tactical display showed the human warship charging toward certain destruction. "They're insane," whispered the Zilith ambassador, crystal facets flashing with shock. "No ship would deliberately engage the Horde's main force." Dr. Chen sat calmly at her desk, watching the drama unfold. She had been briefed on Operation Checkmate, and while the details remained classified, she knew enough to maintain her composure. "You might want to keep watching," she suggested to the gathered representatives. "Humans have a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog." The alien diplomats stared at her in confusion, their translation software struggling with the idiom. Their attention snapped back to the tactical display as the pirate fleet opened fire on the approaching human vessel. Energy beams and projectiles streaked across space toward the Defiant, enough firepower to cripple a small moon. The council representatives held their breath, expecting to witness the human ship's destruction. Instead, something impossible happened. The space around the Defiant seemed to warp, bending the incoming fire away from the hull. What few shots made contact simply dissipated against an invisible barrier, leaving not even a scorch mark on the dark metal. "Quantum deflection shields," Chen explained to the stunned audience. "A technology we developed during our isolation." On the Ravager's bridge, Warlord Kraz roared in fury as his tactical officer reported the failure of their initial barrage. "Impossible. No shield technology can deflect that much firepower." He slammed his fist on the command console. "Launch all fighters. Surround that ship and find its weakness." Dozens of smaller craft poured from the pirate vessels, swarming toward the lone human ship like angry insects. The Defiant continued its advance, seemingly unconcerned by the overwhelming odds. "Fighter swarm approaching," Captain reported Ortiz on the Defiant's bridge. entering optimal countermeasure range in 3, 2, 1. Execute, Rise ordered calmly. The Defiant's hull shimmered, and suddenly hundreds of small objects detached from almost invisible ports along the ship's surface. Each no larger than a human fist, the devices accelerated toward the incoming fighter swarm. Micro-drones deployed, Ortiz confirmed. Targeting systems engaged. The tiny drones moved with impossible agility, each one selecting a target and attaching itself to the hull of a pirate fighter. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, simultaneously, the drones pulsed with energy. Every pirate fighter suddenly went dark, their systems completely disabled as their pilots found themselves floating helplessly in space. In the council chamber, the tactical display updated to show the fighter swarm neutralized without a single explosion. Non-lethal electromagnetic pulse technology, Chen explained to the awestruck representatives. We prefer not to kill when unnecessary. The Defiant continued its advance toward the main pirate fleet, which was now frantically adjusting its formation. Several of the smaller pirate vessels broke ranks, attempting to flee, only to find their escape routes blocked by the suddenly appearing human ships that had been hiding in wait. Warlord Kraz-Full watched in growing horror as his supposedly superior force was systematically neutralized by technology he couldn't comprehend. All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel. Use all weapons. Overload their shields. The remaining pirate fleet responded, unleashing everything they had against the approaching Defiant. Energy weapons, missiles, and exotic projectiles filled the space between them. On her bridge, Captain Rice stood firm as the barrage approached. Shields holding steady, countermeasures ready, weapons locks confirmed on all major pirate vessels. She paused, then added quietly, Now, let's show them what happens when you push humans too far. She pressed her command interface. All ships, execute Phase 2. Across the battlefield, the human fleet responded as one. From the Defiant and each of the smaller human vessels, brilliant blue energy beams lanced out with surgical precision. They didn't target the pirate ship's weapons or engines or life support. Instead, each beam struck the exact same spot on each vessel, the command deck. On the Ravager, Warlord Kraz-Full had just enough time to realize what was happening before the beam sliced through his supposedly impenetrable shields and pierced the bridge. But instead of vaporizing him and his crew as expected, the energy washed over them like water, leaving them unharmed but completely paralyzed. Throughout the pirate fleet, command crews found themselves frozen in place, unable to move or speak or even blink. Their ships, suddenly without guidance, drifted helplessly in space. Neural disruption complete, Ortiz reported on the Defiant. All pirate command crews neutralized. No casualties. Reyes nodded. Broadcast on all frequencies. When her communications officer signaled ready, she addressed not just the pirates, but the entire cluster. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth vessel Defiant. The threat has been neutralized. All pirate vessels have been disabled, and their crews incapacitated. They will remain paralyzed until our security teams have boarded and secured each ship. Any attempt to interfere with this operation will be met with similar consequences. She paused, then added, To the Galactic Council, humanity came here today not to threaten you, but to demonstrate that we are ready to take our place among the stars. For too long, you've allowed these pirates to terrorize the outer colonies because you lack the will or the technology to stop them. Consider this our application for full membership in your community, not as subordinates, but as equals. In the council chamber, stunned silence gave way to scattered applause, which quickly grew into thunderous approval. Representatives from the outer colonies, those who had suffered most under the pirates' raids, were openly cheering. Even the major powers, though still wary, couldn't deny the impressive display of both power and restraint. Dr. Chen stood amidst the celebration, her expression serene as she addressed the council leadership. I believe it's time to renegotiate humanity's status in the galactic community. Our delegation is prepared to discuss terms at your convenience. The Illyrian High Counselor's body had shifted from its earlier red agitation to a calm blue. "It seems we have significantly underestimated your species, Dr. Chen. The Council will convene immediately to discuss your new status." The alien hesitated, then added, "If I may ask, why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue developing in secret?" Chen's expression remained diplomatic, but her eyes held a hint of steel. "Because the threats facing this galaxy are greater than pirates, High Counselor. There are dangers approaching from beyond the rim that will require all our combined strength to face. Humanity chose to reveal itself now because soon, very soon, none of us will have the luxury of standing alone." The council chamber fell silent once more as the implications of her words sank in. On the view screens, the human fleet had formed a protective perimeter around the disabled pirate vessels. The Defiant stood at the center, its dark hull no longer seeming menacing but reassuring, a shield against whatever unknown threats lurked beyond known space. On her bridge, Captain Reyes gazed out at the stars. "Message from Earth Command, Captain," reported her communications officer. "They say Operation First Contact is a success. Council negotiations are proceeding better than projected." Reyes nodded. "And the other matter?" "Deep space probes confirm activity in the outer darkness. The Void Swarm is moving exactly as predicted. We have 2 years, maybe less." The captain's expression remained composed, but her eyes hardened with determination. "Then we have work to do. Humanity has announced its presence. Now we need to prepare our new allies for what's coming." As the Defiant secured the last of the pirate vessels, Captain Elena Reyes knew that this victory, impressive as it was, represented only the opening move in a much larger game. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage not a moment too soon. Because something was coming from the darkness between the stars, something ancient and hungry that had encountered humanity once before, something that had no idea the primitives it had dismissed millennia ago had been preparing for its return ever since. The real test of humanity's place among the stars was just beginning.